Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And I know that it's a very difficult morning for all of us gathered here and for all those who watch this service online, but I have to say it was so refreshing and so nice to hear all the giggles outside and all those happy moments and many smiles, because it's also a celebration of life. And we will talk about Ella in length today, and I think it's most appropriate to start this celebration of life thinking of how grateful we are for her being with us. And may God forever remember Ella, who has gone to her eternal rest. May she be at one with the one who is life eternal. May the beauty of her life shine forevermore. And may our lives always bring honor to her memory. And that physical death has taken Ella from us. In our silence there is meditation, and in our tears there is loneliness. Lost in sorrow, may we find the presence of eternal our God. May God be with us. We are all destined to die, and we share it with all who ever lived, with all who ever will be. Cry for the dead, hide not to grieve. Do not restrain your mourning, but remember that continuing sorrow is worse than death. When the dead are at rest, let their memory be a source of peace, and be consoled with the soul that departs. And mourning is a time that's filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. And as we recite psalms and hymns and prayers and poems, we link Ella's life to this millennial-old tradition of the people of Israel and the eternity of God. In the book of Ecclesiastes, it's written, for everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to cry, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. The gift of spirits our loved ones gave us cannot be measured, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. And we know that even in our darkest times, the light, the word, will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and a fullness of time in grace and healing and peace. Our God and God of our ancestors, we come today to give thanks for the gift of Ella's life, for the years that He shared Ella with us, all the good that we saw in her and the love we received from her. We thank you that she's at rest in your loving care and trusting the promise of life without end. When memories are sad and painful, hold us gently in your hands. When memories are sweet and joyful, give us grace to thank you. Our tradition teaches us that death is better than a life of pain. And eternal rest is better than constant sickness. Let not seek to understand what is too difficult for us, nor search for what is hidden, nor be preoccupied with what is beyond. For what we have been shown more than we can comprehend. As a drop of water in the sea, as a grain of sand on the shore, are a few days of eternity. The good things in life last for a short time, but a good reputation endures forever. שביתי אדוני תנגדי תמיד, כי עיני האדמות, לכן שמח ליבי ואלך ליבי על בשרי ישכון לבטח, כי לא תעזוב נפשי לשאול את פן חסדיך לראות שחר. תוציאני אור חיים שהצלחות תמיד פניך עמוד ומניך הנצח. Eternal God, source of all being and fountain of life, What can we say to you from you see in the audience? In your wisdom, you form the universe, and in your love, you provide for all your creatures. What can we do but acknowledge your power, accept your gifts with gratitude, and according to your will, give back your own? I would like to ask Dimitri to come and say a few words about his mother.
First of all, it's just lovely to see so many familiar faces and friends and family out there. It just makes my heart super warm to have you all here and to celebrate with often Israelis are described as a sabra, a prickly desert pear that has to be tough on the outside because of its environment, but is soft on the inside. This was my mom. Strong but compassionate, tough but loving. She had a strong work ethic and forged strong relationships with people all around her, which are all of you. She spoke her mind and said the truth in that Israeli way that sometimes you couldn't tell an insult from a compliment. I remember when she first walked into mine and showed proudly bought house and said with enthusiasm, "Wow, look, it's so small." She had a fabulous sense of humor and a hearty laugh. In her last few days, when her voice was so soft and that I needed to listen to her, she called me close and said to me that she could take me to the doctor to get her hearing checked. I love that she treated everyone equally, even as kids. She talked to us as people, which gave her love and respect. Her parenting style was always one of reflection. And while, as children, we could push her over the edge to the point where she would yell at us, she would then apologize for losing her cool. It was great, Mom. Ella was the captain of the ship at home. With 2 boys and a flamboyant husband, she kept her home life tight and the ship sailing in the right direction. She loved to garden, play games, and each night she went to bed with a book. Her cooking was out of this world, and she had a true sense of flavoring. If my mom had touched the ingredients, we knew the food would be good. And with her own mom so far away, she adopted some of the older Jewish women in our community, who would regularly look after them, bring them food, and give them company. Her heart was filled with love, compassion, and kindness. What made her friend with Ella, who made her friend for life. She loved all of you, all her friends and all her family, and while the lamp has gone out, we all still see by her light.
In the personal note, first time when I met Ella, it was when I came to be interviewed for the position of being rabbi of this congregation. And I have to say, even if it was an informal interview, oh boy, trust me, it was an interview. In a very subtle manner. Every question was to the point. When Ella realized that I was born in Moscow, she was a little bit softer to me because she was born also from Soviet Union. So she became a little bit warmer towards me. Then she heard that I was also in the army. She immediately checked what was my rank. And I said, your rank is still higher than me. And absolutely, because again, to be major surgeon in IDF back, I would say 55, 60 years ago was a very, very big accomplishment. And we spoke about that. And I think by the end of the time it was okay. I kind of got her approval. And I thought to myself, oh my God, it's so great that Ella is part of this congregation. And she's from former Soviet Union and from Israel, and now she lives here. But then, unfortunately, I did not have the privilege of spending a lot of time with her. But every time when it was on the phone that I was called to check on her, or when she came to the service, it was always such a pleasure to be with her, even if it was just for a short period of time. And when I read your eulogy, it was just so spot on. And it's really, really good. God, who may abide in your house, who may dwell in your holy mountain, those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who scorn the lowliness but honor those who revere God, who give the word and come what may, do not regret, who do not exploit others, who do not take bribes. Those who live in this way shall never be shaken. From Psalm 15. מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי לא יחסר, ולעוד אשלי, אדוני ביצני עמד וחוקותי נהלני. נפשי ישובב, ומחני במעלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צלמות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי שפתך ומשנתך, אנא נחמני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת בשמן ראשי, בשיא רוויה, אך טוב וחסד ירדפו מכל ימי חיי, ושבתי בית אדוני לאורך ימים. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. But makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. Psalm 23. In the beautiful Psalm 121, it says, "Turn my eyes to the mountains, from where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let you put the way. The guardian will not slumber. See the guardian of Israel, never slumbers, never sleeps. Adonai is your guardian, Adonai is your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon at night. Adonai will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. Adonai will guard your going and coming, now and forever." And now I would like to ask Amy to come and say a few words of God's prayer.
I'm really thankful that you just spoke just now after the meeting because I was doing really well and then he gave this eulogy and I was like, I'm not going to make it. So, I personally don't have a lot of history with Ella, especially compared to most of the people in this room. I don't have a lifetime of stories, but what I would like to share is my experience knowing her and how greatly things she impacted my life.
I will continue if you will.
Okay. Ella and I met in 2006. Chris and I had just started dating, and he invited me over to his parents' house for dinner because when you're in Ogden, you bring people in with wide open arms. What I did not know was that Ella's loyal heart was still attached to Christopher's ex-girlfriend, who had just split with not long before, and who she thought one day might become a part of their family. When life took a different turn, she grieved that loss deeply, and although her heart was still raw that night, Ella, being the gracious host as she was, politely welcomed me into her home with a beautiful meal and a very small sigh of welcome with civility. Ella had always embraced anyone her sons brought into her home, and so because Ella's loyal heart was also a generous one, she soon drew me until we became more than in-laws, we became friends. I learned quickly that she could be surprisingly candid, but that openness showed me I could trust her kindness, which she gave freely and often. Many of you know that Ella and I made countless trips to New York for her procedure to skin. She would never forgive me if I didn't bring to light the unending generosity of her niece Katie, who always opened her home to us, couch and all, for as long as we needed. Even near the end, Elle worried we were becoming a burden, but I think that Katie, like me, wouldn't have traded those days for the boy. For me, those times are among my most cherished memories. The three of us playing cards and Rooney Cube, listening to music, cooking together, and commiserating about Archie's accent biscuits. As our relationship deepened, I came to admire her strength, her staunch principles, and especially in recent years, her fierce desire for independence. Ella could not be contained except by her own conviction. She knew who she was, even if she didn't always know what she wanted, which of course makes no sense unless you know Ella. I imagine her as a young woman, headstrong, determined, and reaching something beyond the ordinary and finding it. She probably scoffed at that description, insisting I was romanticizing her life, adding too much story. For Ella, it was just her life, nothing more interesting or different or special than anyone else's, but she was wrong. She was special to us, to everyone whose life she touched. Ella was an unexpected relationship for me. In the end, she wanted me to be brave, to embrace life fully and unapologetically. She wanted me to become the truest, most complete version of myself. When she was diagnosed with congestive heart failure, I thought that would be what would take her from us, but in a way it was her heart that kept her going. It was what held her here long enough to see her grandchildren when that was time. I will be forever grateful that she allowed me into that fierce, loyal, and generous heart of hers, and I hope she knows she will always be a part of mine.
In his sorrow, Job cried out, Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Boach. God has given, God has taken away, blessed be the name of God. And ancient people, we all felt the quantum of grief and with this valley of shadows. And death and sorrow, unfortunately, are not strangers to any of us. But yet, as I mentioned earlier, the centuries have taught us that this good name endures beyond the grave and the restraint of faith. And I think those beautiful eulogies and later on the stories that I'm sure there are many that learned to be told today about Ella is just this beautiful testimony about an amazing person that she was. And I'd like to ask Chris to come and say a few words about his mother.
Thanks everybody for being here. Mom liked a lot of light in the house. She liked to clean a lot of space. She kept it bright. Even today, there was a question about opening the windows, and they said open them all because that's how she lived. She had the opposite approach to noise. Too much noise is too much. God forbid you whistle in the house. That was a definite no-go. Yeah. That like the whole world was also part of her routine and Oliver herself. It doesn't represent us, but the mezuzah, which is a Jewish tradition with the Torah wall, and the Hamza, which is a hand protecting the people, sat on the doorstep. So one time we were at a noisy restaurant with a jukebox blaring. Mom looked at me and said, I think you should be able to pay for 5 minutes of silence. It was practical, funny, and it was just her. She loved her garden. She squatted all her life. She picked weeds and planted all while squatting. Mom was physical. She carried laundry up and down the stairs. When asked if we should move the machines into the house, she said no. But walking was important to her. It kept her strong and healthy. Mom could stand on her head when we were kids, which we loved. We would always try, would fail, but she could do it. She was our hero. Mom could never sit through a movie. Initially I thought it was because she smoked. And later when she quit, I realized, no, that's just who she is. We ate dinner together every night as a family. A topic would organically rise to the surface, ranging from something that happened in school, on the news, Archie's work, or Ella's daily life. We spent most of the day breaking it down. It was never a debate, but an intellectual discussion. Mom always came from a socially balanced perspective, that it was less of a definitive answer, but an opening view to the world through a different light. These were the little gifts to us. My parents became friends with so many people on this island. The door was always open. We've had many people come through our doors, each one intimately connected. Looking at all your faces, I know many of you eating dinner at the Ogden's house. These nights were sacred spaces, full of life, conversation, discussion, and wonderful dinners. This was a place we appreciated. We had appreciation for each other, built our lives together, and shared who we are. This was extremely special to Mom, as to all of us. Everyone became part of our family. And to say the very least, she was a fantastic cook. You couldn't get enough of it. So, Mom's only downfall that she was an excellent food critic, especially with her own meals. This needs more salt, a bit more pepper, a little bit of wine. Only when other people cook did she really enjoy a good meal. Mom loved all of you with all her hearts. May your humility in your life be her blessing, and may your wisdom continue in all of our hearts. Send everybody love.
May the Holy One of blessing, from whom all things come, and to whom all things return, give the family light and peace on this day of grief and mourning. May our service bring comfort and strength to Ella's family, to friends, to all of you. Zichrona Levracha, may her memory always be for blessing. Will we please rise for a minute? אל הרחמים שוכן ורומים, נמצא מלוכה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים ותוארים כזוהר האקיה מצרים את נשמת אלה בת דין ודור שהלכה לעולמה, לבעל הרחמים שהסתובב בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ואצרור בצרור חיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום המשפחה, ונאמר אמן. God of abundant mercy, God of most high, grant perfect rest beneath the shelter of your presence, with the holy and pure of kind, who shine as the light of heaven to Ella, who has gone to her everlasting home. Source of mercy, cover her in the shelter of your wings for Ella, and bind her soul into the gathering of life. It is God who is her heritage, and she be at peace in his place of rest. And let us say, Amen. אתה גיבור לעולם התנאי, מחיית ולצרה ויושע, מחלחל חיים בחסד ומחיית ולתה ברחמים רבים. סומך נופל ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים, ומגיע מרתו לשמי עפר. מי כמוך בעל גיבורות, ומי מלך מענית ומחיה ומצמיח לישועה. ונעימת אתה להחיות, הכל ברוך אתה ותנאי, נותן בתוכנו חיי עולם. Dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. It only the house of spirit which lay within the earth. The spirit itself cannot die. And we'll recite the Varnas Kaddish, and if you would like, please join us. יתגלה ויתקדש שמי עולה, לענה תברח יוצא וימריך מעושה, בחיי חום וביום חום ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעברה ובזמן דברים ויגמרו עמי. יהיה שמי רבם מבורך לעולם ובני עמיה, יתברך וישבח ויתנער ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה, שמי וקדשה וריחוד. לעילם וכל ברכתה אשר אותה. ובכלל ולכנה, ועמרן ועלמה, ואירו, אמן. ויש לנו רב במשמע, וחיים עלינו ועל ישראל, ואירו, אמן. עושה שלום ואומר, ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי ישראל, ואירו. A place of love, is a place of devotion. Into this place we bring stories and prayers and answer questions, tears that need to be shed, lives recollected and carried within us, those moments of courage and laughter and pain. These days, this what embraces them all. This place, this people, what embraces them all. And now that the heart is open in sorrow, for we are time's subjects, and all that we love, we must lose. So let us hold fast to the love that remains, and cherish the light of the sun. And today all of us walk the morning together. May we all find strength. And I would like to finish this service with a poem that I showed Amy just before the service, and she gave me her green light to share it with all of you, so I would like to do that. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember her. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember her. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember her. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember her. When we have joys we want to share, we remember her. So as long as we live, Ella too shall live, for she is now as part of us as we remember her. The official part of the service is finished, and I would like to ask Marilyn to come forward and just to give us some of the direction to what's going to happen next.
And we would like to have people come up and make comments about what they might want to speak about Ella. Because I know that so many of us have had relationships with her. And just as a starter, I tried, every time I get up here, I have a piece of paper, 2 or 3 or 4 pieces of paper, because I get, nervous and I have to have it all written out. But I just couldn't write something about Ella. It was just, my history with her was just so vast and started like when our children were very little. We lived, we had to go around the road to get from their house to our house. and they were friends together. And one particular situation where my son went to sleep over there, and Ella called me up in the morning and she said, where's Justin? He's not here. He's not in his bed. And I ran into his room and he was sleeping there, and I kind of woke him up, what happened, and he said, it was just too hot, so I left in the middle of the night. And I came home. Things like that, we shared so much together, and there's actually a photograph, and I can't remember if it's, I think it was with Christopher and Gregory, where Gregory made a hole and he put his legs in, and then he put his shoes on top, so he was like small, and Christopher was tall, and there was this picture of the two of them, and then they had humor together, they had joy together, and this was all because Ella was a dynamic person, and I'm not going to cast any aspersions on anybody else who has worked and is working for the synagogue now. But when Ella ran the things at the synagogue, she did it single-handedly. While now we need this person and finance person, Ella handled it all, and she handled it totally well. So, like I said, here I couldn't write this all down. Now I'm going to stand here talking to you for hours. And I didn't mean to do that, but I just want to say that this is a person who I consider larger than life, who was a dear friend, who was a special person who developed through her life, and even in her passing, because I was there like 2 days, I think 2 days before, and she was struggling to stay alive just to see her grandchildren. I mean, she was loving the family that was here and the friends that were here, but she was ready to go, but she was going to stay to see her grandchildren. I mean, and she did. So what is more incredible? What kind of person is more incredible than this? And I apologize for going on and on. And I don't know whether, I think they want people to eat first, and then you will have an opportunity to come up here and anybody who wishes to express thoughts.
I think if anybody wanted to say something now, I think this is a great space for a lot of comments are the whole thing. So if you want to read it. Do we have to get to you now?
Okay, so maybe we could take a couple minutes in case 2 or 3 people.
Yeah. If anybody wants to say something,
I know that Archie and Ella went in separate ways these past few years, but when I try to separate them, it often thoughts for 2 separate memorials is impossible. It has always been Archie and Ella. Our relationship with Archie and Ella has always been taking them as a pair. And so, dear friends, like it or not, this is to Archie and Ella. Our relationship with Archie and Ella dates to their earliest days on St. Thomas, Montana, when we all became friends through the synagogue, and their first house in Carrot Bay, making us neighbors. Carolyn's relationship dates to the early days when Ella worked at Mine and the Sun in town. Archie and Ella could always be counted on to never has. Very special in that way. I will leave the Rotary world to those who were or are in Rotary. Yes, that was, I don't know if anyone was here, there were a couple of people here from Rotary, but Archie was the president he was in my club, and he was the president. At one time, he was the treasurer, at another time, he was one of the founding members of our Rotaries in House too. The relationship is with our mutual love for our synagogue. We were always participants in whatever event was taking place. Archie and I went further because not only did we participate in synagogue events, but we wound up mutually involved in the annual Texas Society Chili Cook-Off and the St. Thomas Garden Club for men. Archie was really part of a lot of things. Archie was my right-hand man chili cook-off where we collectively made over 30 pounds of pictures. We had both meat and veggies. We would start the day before with the masterful help of Pat Bailey and Bruce Marshall setting up our booth. Archie was our drink master and jalapeno coordinator. The next day at sunrise, Archie was there with me setting up, and he became the assistant chef starting off the breakfast that he would make for everyone involved in our booth. He was there all day, spicing things up with jalapenos and making sure that the recipe was coming along. We even got Ella a couple of times to participate by making vegetarian chili. She was one of my fiercest critics. Archie was there with us from sunrise to sundown, always smiling and making sure we were all well hydrated. We even had one year where Ella's Israeli family participated in our showmanship effort. It was a complete blast. Archie at some point became a member of the same with the fellows met once a month for nothing but fun, so you can imagine how well Archie did. I believe the members of the club are the members that I know of in the times. While I smiled at this, I'm thinking about it. She was very reluctant garden club member. Sergeant Major Ella took a while to get into the fun of the club, but after some time she seemed to even enjoy it. I remember finally one trip the garden club took to Ireland, from which I photographed proof that Ella was having a blast. I hope that other people will talk about what a great cook Ella was. There were so many dinners at Sheikh Ogden, games, drinks, and food. And that was memorable. One never left hungry and always with a smile on our face. Archie and Ella and Archie. Just has a few words that they might want to say, or has it all been said?
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know if you can hear me from
Because,
this.
by the way, it's good that we're doing this now because we're streaming now, so that there are people online, and this is being recorded, so that you can watch it after, and anybody watching it now, if it's not clear or they missed the beginning, can get on and watch it all again. So this is actually a good review.
Thank you very much. I first met Ellen and Archie shortly after in Maryland when we decided to have a dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, at Polly and Fred Fox's house. That was the only house on St. Thomas, and among our friends and acquaintances that did not have any marriage. So they offered their home, and they had made music together prior to that, and so that tradition continued, but it expanded, and in her very quiet and unassuming way, she made everybody so welcome, and kept asking, do you want to come? Do you have a place to stay? Do you have a birthday? Are you celebrating? No, we don't have home, we don't have room. Come. So I think we were well over 100 people in a not so big of a house, but we all came together. But the one thing that I wanted to share today was that something that had not been mentioned was her singing voice. I don't know how many of you knew that Ella had a beautiful volume of that voice, but I stood next to her on a number of occasions, and then later purposefully, and I stood next to her because I wanted to hear her voice. Because one thing that we always did was to open the dinner at a celebration with Amazing Grace. And she kept her voice so low, and I kept nudging her. I said, sweetheart? No. And then finally I had a couple of words with Ella, with Polly, and I said, did you know that she had this beautiful voice? And she said, yeah, and we can't get her to sing out loud. What is it? Well, we didn't know that it was that quiet, unassuming way that Ella moved through life and had an enormous and last but not least, I still have plant cuttings that your mom gave me years ago. One of them is actually blooming right now. And I was, when I left my house this morning, I said, oh, there it is. She's still here. She's still with me. And the plant that she gave me, the cutting that she gave me, is called a cup of rose.
That was absolutely lovely. Is there any, I want to make recognition to Jeanette and Cal Baxter because they were with Ella in their home in Hartford and she left to come home right after that. And I don't know if you want to come on board and say just a few words, but they just to be able to see Ella before she passed. So
Well, not only they're only
please
saying
come up,
a
please
word
come up.
and now you force me to do this. And I will be, you know,
I
feel.
I think this is what it's all about, for us to express what our thoughts and our feelings are, and for it to be recorded.
I just told Cal I'm not going to say anything.
Hi. So I've obviously been thinking a lot, and it's very difficult to condense 40 years of friendship into a few words. Ella and I met in the late 70s. We both lived in Carrot Bay. We both had sons who went to Old St. And both joined the revived sisterhood that our friend Andrea started. And so, you know, we were close, we took rides with each other, we got to know each other, our children, and so forth. And in 1989, our home was completely destroyed in Hurricane Hugo. Archie and Ella came and found us, sort of scrabbling around on the roof, hoping that we could actually do something, which actually we couldn't. And they said, well, come over for dinner. And so we went over there and we stayed for about 8 or 9 months. While our home was being rebuilt, and although we had been friends before, that experience cemented a friendship and a bond that was alive, that was happy wherever we were, whether we were together or whether we were living somewhere else. And so we did many, many things together. We took trips together. Cal and I always hoped or planned, we all planned that when we would retire, we would all retire together. So Ella she was a caring person, and she was a helping person, and she was also a very private person. She was very stern, the sergeant major, but she knew what she wanted, and she also knew what she didn't want. That she was a wonderful, welcoming host who wanted you to eat her food, to ask for second hand on your plate, and if you did, take it with you. For me, as I said, she was always there, no matter where we each were, and we always communicated, and we knew where both of us were. I think both Cal and I feel blessed that Ella spent about 2 weeks with us in September, and for once, we were able to care for her. And that was a very wonderful thing that she allowed us to do. And so, bless you, Ella. Thank you.
friendship and define the word friendship for a lot of us and what it meant. Anybody else? Mercedes? Trudy Pryor.
It's hard to follow the family and the people who knew Ella longer than I did. Ella and I met through the synagogue, as many of us did. It was 1993, Holy Days. And within a year, I was on the board and I became treasurer. I thought I was going to be treasurer in perpetuity. But fortunately, that didn't happen. But as a result of that position, I came into the synagogue just about once a week. Sometimes more. And worked with Ellen was, she did everything. She was the heart of the synagogue as far as I was concerned. And working with her was not just a matter of the numbers, but getting to know her as a wonderful human being who cared deeply about the congregation and the people who were part of it. Over time, Ellen and I discovered that we had a common bond, a couple of them. One was that our family, she had come from Eastern Europe, and my parents were born in Poland and lived through the Holocaust there. And she and I would occasionally say a Polish word to her. And there was just this little connection that no one else had. And the other was Israel. I spent quite a bit of time there and learned a lot of the folk dances. And I remember so many of our dinners here when Harvey would play his accordion and I would get up and do some of the dances that most of the people didn't know. So it was just this little bit, not long periods of time, but moments that we shared that I truly loved. I regret that in more recent years I just didn't have the time to spend with Ella that I should have. I love her dearly, and I miss her.
Is there anybody else who has anything to say?
Just so you don't ask them for that. You will stand up. So that's
Well,
okay.
that won't be recorded,
No.
so I'm making everybody come to the He's right. It's one of you. It's okay.
I'm gonna cry. I'm Jill. I'm also from Europe, Dimitri's wife. And Ellen and I had a rocky start. Mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationship's not always the easiest. We had a bit of a tug of war going on for a while, especially when our babies were born. She was so desperate to be a grandma, I was so desperate to be a mum. We had a little bit of a tug of war. But we resolved it, you know, we silently resolved it. We found a way to love each other, to accept each other, and, you know, I looked at Ellen and I said, well, if she can produce someone like Dimitri, then she's around well good enough. And we ended up really, really loving each other very deeply. We became really, yeah, I know I wouldn't swap it for the world. At the beginning, I would have swapped that. At the beginning, everyone else looked pretty good. I would not swap it for the world. She means a great deal to me. She means a great deal to my family in England. She came and spent a lot of time here. She spent a lot of time in England and is an extended portion of my family in Liverpool, and they're all watching now and they will basically too. And she was a great grandmother. She loved her grandchildren with passion, and yeah, it was one of their greatest joys was being able to be called grandma. Good night, goodness.
Your mom can say that. That means more than I know, Mercedes, you had to be up here.
It's no secret that the first time I met Ella, I was terrified. And I thought that I was being eternally. And I didn't know if she was writing to friends and writing by friends my first time coming to the cinema. It actually was my first experience in English. Anyway, from that moment on, there was a click. And I always took an issue with my major. Here, pursued it until much later. But if there's one thing I will always remember from Ella, if there's one thing that I will always remember from Ella, is that we could talk about anything. Politics, religion. I always have crazy ideas and she always worried with them. You know, she'd go like, let's go do it. That's fantastic. So what is this season? Having a Ramadan and Christmas all fall on the 25th. I will do a party. So I collect handpias and invite some friends from all traditions. And we leave our handpias that night, singing Hallelujah, and eating Hallelujah, Moroccan traditional soup that breaks the fast during the singing ceremony. I could write a book about the many times I came to this school. I got to cook because we had to bring members back to the congregation. And in that process, everything I once was made honorary member by Shimon, who by the way once got in trouble on the reason we cooked because they had made a dish. And Shimon told somebody that I had claimed that dish as mine. So I was standing right there when Ella came to me and says, did you tell Shimon that you cooked it? What? So yeah, it didn't matter. We always had a very honest relationship. And Amy, she loved you. She really, really loved us with Ogden and this opportunity. And kids, there's one thing that I know about your mother was that she hated when you called her Ella. And, we love the wine. We like to go out to eat. You know, there were people in a different way. I don't have any children. And while I taught her some Spanish, she taught me some Hebrew. And we spent 6 months just trying to learn. Then we didn't have too much work, and this is we really could. But anyway, I miss her, and I'm going to miss her to the day I die. I love you.
That's all I can say is, are you coming up to speak? Is there anyone else? I want to make sure everyone's,
Hello. Summer. I felt like I should represent maybe the children. Ella was a mother for more than just Chris and Michi. So she was a second mother for so many of us who grew up with the twins. To understand that impact, I'm not sure I can really share it fully. She was so important to us. When my wife and I got married, we're Catholic. Sorry about that. In the Catholic wedding, right? We have Testament. So for me, that connection to the Jewish faith
it was right for me to ask if Elle would read that. And there's kind of breaking some rules in the Catholic church to do that. So you need to be a little bit pushy with your priest and with Ella, because I think it made her uncomfortable. She couldn't say no, and I asked her to read in Hebrew. So she read in Hebrew in a Catholic church at a Catholic wedding. That's who she was as a mother to us. So she would do anything for us. And it's that love that I think sustains us. It raised us as young people. We had families raising us, but for me, most important, my number 2, mom and dad, Archie and Ella. So just wanted to make sure everyone knew that the kids were represented too. Thank you.
Well, I guess we're at a conclusion, and I have to admit that this last part, although the first part, hearing the family was wonderful, but hearing people outside of the family is also beyond anything. And I'm so glad that we were able to do it. Thank you for being such a wonderful family. I love you all. And that came through Ella. So, I can't say Shabbat Shalom, so what do I say?
That's it.
That's it.
Thank you, everybody. Just the spirit and the strength, and take this up with her and have conversations, and we love you all. And